What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction, and this one we have viral. Diversity is not our strength. Commentator Will Kingston on what's happening in the UK. I'm intrigued to listen to this and see what's going to be said. When I watch this video, I want to come from a place of understanding. So I want to understand what they're saying and why they're saying it. Before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. And if you would like to support the channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit the join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get to it.
You are facing what's happening to the UK in a very acute way. And while we're all celebrating this peace deal today and absolutely want peace for the Middle East, one thing we don't want here in America is a ton more Muslims emigrating into the United States. Sorry, but we don't. And in the UK, it's already happened, and you've been speaking out about it. So it'd be great if we could have a peace deal where the Palestinians stay where they are and it's rebuilt, Gaza's rebuilt, and they have a real home they can hang out in and raise their families in. But the solution is definitely not for them to come here or continuing to flood into places like the United Kingdom, which has already changed, it looks like irrevocably. You tell me, what's your overall take on what's happening there?
Yeah, well, as an aside, that clip that we just saw with Trump and Starmer was a microcosm of the state of the UK at the moment. The nerdy loser kid who thinks for a second that maybe the cool kid is going to show him some attention, but unfortunately put back in his box pretty quickly. The word irrevocably, Megan, is an interesting one. And this is the question, on GB News, on my podcast, but in the pubs across the UK, we talk about a lot because we've seen the decline that's happened. And we do wonder, is there a chance of reversal? That is the key question this country faces. Now, this country's gone through dark moments before. You had, the Vikings were raiding the countryside 1,000 years ago. You had the IMF in the 1970s bail out the country. You've had world wars. It's not like, and just like the US, it's not like there haven't been dark moments. The thing which concerns a lot of people is economic problems can be fixed. You can change tax policies. You can change regulations. The concern that so many people have is that swift demographic change can't just be reversed overnight. If you change your demographics, and make no mistake, the demographic change in the UK has been extraordinary in a short period of time. That is irreversible. And so a lot of people are looking at the next 3 to 4 years before a general election in the UK, and they are saying this could be the last best hope for what was once the greatest country in the world before the US took on that mantle.
I know this really caught your attention. I mean, it's been catching your attention, but you made international headlines when you really spoke out about this problem after the attack on Yom Kippur, the most holy Jewish holiday of the year, on Jews in the UK by a guy named Jihadi al-Shami, which means jihad. We know what that is. And then from Syria. So it's like jihadi from Syria. This guy unleashes a terrorist attack on Jews in the UK on Yom Kippur, driving his vehicle into a crowd outside of a synagogue in Manchester, then attacking others with a knife. 2 Jewish men were killed. At least 3 others were hospitalized. And the guy, by the way, there's no question the motivation, because he phoned the police claiming to pledge allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. So we didn't, over here, the big game is, gee, we'll never know the motive, even if it's written on the bullets. There's no question what the motive was.
Many in the political class are still trying to say that, Megan, make no mistake.
Yeah. Well, so you go out on your show and said in part the following. This is on the show, the Saturday 5 on GB News 7.
I'm done. I'm done with the euphemisms. I'm done with the crocodile tears. I'm done with the calls for unity. I'm done being told not to hate. And I'm done skirting around uncomfortable truths. So let's list them. Uncomfortable truth 1. Multiculturalism hasn't merely failed. It has embedded sectarian violence on the streets of the UK and cost countless lives, most recently the lives of Adrian Daubly and Melvin Kravitz in Manchester. Again, strength and love to their families. Uncomfortable truth Two, diversity is not our strength. It has never been our strength. And in fact, it has now become our greatest weakness economically and culturally. And I'm yet to hear any coherent argument for its value that doesn't default to, well, we get good restaurants out of it, which isn't good enough justification for complete cultural and social fracture. And besides, we've got the recipes now anyway. Uncomfortable truth three. Islamism is a cancer on the UK, and more citizens will die as a result of appeasing it. We need to say these uncomfortable truths loudly and whilst we still can.
Hear, hear. Good for you. You reminded me a lot of my pal Charlie Kirk as I watched you, because this is a third rail, one of the ones you're not allowed to touch.
Okay, so just getting to listen to him so far. You can tell these two absolutely believe that I guess multiculturalism really isn't a good thing. I guess especially when there's a quick demographic change. He says diversity is not strength. It's not a strength of the UK. Never has been. I would disagree. But I just want to kind of listen and understand where he's coming from before I give anything. And then he goes on to say Islamism is a cancer. And it's like, for the only good thing he's heard about diversity is that they got new restaurants, but we already got the recipe. So I guess now, like, you don't need them anymore. So let's keep going.
Especially in the UK, and you fully embraced it. Tell me why. Like, was it just the Yom Kippur attack, or was it more?
No, it's more than that. And, rewatching that monologue, I stand by what I said. Probably may have gone a bit too heavy on the orange, on the makeup, rewatching that again, but we are.
Some of the best people do.
That's exactly right. It's a tribute to the Donald. I said it because I think it is reflective of where many people are at now in the United Kingdom, in Australia, across the Anglosphere, in that 5 years ago, we were bullied into silence on these matters. You were told that if you had legitimate questions about Islam, you were called a racist. And make no mistake, this is a very deliberate attempt from the left to conflate race with culture. Race should be something that should be off limits in terms of criticism. We know that. We know this isn't controversial stuff. But religion is a choice. A cultural decision is a choice. And any sort of choice you should be able to criticise. And it is blatantly obvious, Megan, and you know this, most of your audience knows this, there are legitimate questions to be asked around Islam when it comes to the treatment of women, when it comes to the treatment of minority groups, when it comes to the separation between church or mosque and state. And you know what? The answer that you always get is, well, I know a lovely Muslim lady or a lovely Muslim man who lives around the corner from me. And that's fine. No one's saying that there aren't nice people who are Muslims. But the problem comes, when you get to scale. And the reality is that out of the 50-odd Muslim countries in the world, 47 of them aren't democracies. The 3 that are pretty dodgy democracies. 40 of them are authoritarian hellholes. So it's very obvious that when you get to scale in Islamic cultures, you face these problems. And the problem for the UK is that we are rapidly approaching a point where there is going to be scale. By the 2050s or 2060s, I can't recall the exact number, but you're going to get to a point where somewhere between 20 to 25% of the population could be following the Islamic faith. Now, in a country where there isn't compulsory voting, interestingly in Australia there actually is, but say the US or the UK, you just need to have a sectarian voting bloc that can mobilise around an Islamic candidate, and a hardline Islamic candidate at that. And suddenly that scale I just mentioned means that you can have fundamental changes to the culture and an undermining of the Western liberal values that we in the US and the UK hold dear.
This problem has been on the radar of those paying attention for quite some time. And we're going to get to this, but just so the listening audience in the United States knows, this is our problem too. We're a lot bigger than the UK, but we have a similar issue. Muslims are now the majority in Dearborn, Michigan. That's where Rashida Tlaib is a representative for. In Minnesota, there's a huge contingent. That's where Ilhan Omar was elected from. And you've now got the open call to prayer happening 5 times a day on the streets of some of these cities in Minnesota and in Dearborn, 5 times a day, where you hear the call to prayer and then the open praying, Allahu Akbar. Do we have that, Robert? Let's play that. Stand by. I think it's SOT 14.
The city of Minneapolis changed its noise ordinance, now allowing the Islamic call to prayer to be broadcast from speakers year-round 5 times a day. In tonight's Weekend Journal, David Schumann of WCCO reports.
Ooh. My son's trying to wake up and stand up too fast. Oh, my days. I love that kid so much. I might have to finish this video a little bit later. And I've written down points, but I don't want to go over like everything. I went over a couple of them, but I don't want to go over everything until the end of the video. And so we only got like 2 or 3 minutes left, but I got a feeling he ain't going to let me finish. So the next part is still going to be in the same video, but it just came a little bit later.
For a major U.S. city.
Oh, he was.
This is Minneapolis.
The Muslim call to prayer, recited in here, heard out there.
It is a very simple message to share the greatness of God and to call people to success.
5 times a day, Muslims gather to pray at mosques, but the broadcast for the pre-dawn and nighttime prayers weren't allowed in Minneapolis until now. The city eliminated time constraints from the part of its noise ordinance related to religious worship. In the summer, that means the call could go out as early as 3:30 a.m. and as late as 11 p.m.
3:30 a.m., people in Minneapolis hearing the call to prayer, and then everybody's down on their knees saying Allahu Akbar. This is happening in the United States, but it's overwhelming already in the UK, which opened its borders about 15 years ago and is now paying the price.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about that clip, Megan, is how that the local council or authority changed their ordinances in order to make this happen. And it's a small example, but it's a very powerful example of how countries like the UK and the US are going out of their way to change their rules, their customs, their laws, their regulations in order to be kind and tolerant and to embrace this multicultural ideology which we have been, which has been thrust upon us now for 20 or 30 years.
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up info kit, and to claim your...
Okay, so the end was just a sponsor. Okay, so we'll talk about it hopefully before my son's up for good. So I'll just tell you guys the things I've written down. Worried about a demographic change happening very quickly, bringing in a lot of immigrations quick. There was a terror attack that happened where Jews were killed by someone named Jihadi. I guess they called and said why they did it, and it was for Islamic beliefs. You got multiculturalism costing lives. That kind of goes with the terror attack. He says diversity is not our strength. It has never been a strength of the UK. 3, Islam is a cancer. And I'm just saying the points that were made in this video, what they believe Islam is a cancer. Next, they feel that they were bullied into silence. And if you criticize Islam in any way, you were called a racist. Or if you criticize immigrants, or if you criticize, then you were called a racist. And he's like, I have genuine questions. People have genuine questions that they are afraid to ask about Islam because of that. 50 some Muslim countries, most are not democracies. Most are not doing good from what I heard. Afraid in the future that 25% of the UK could become Muslim. Fundamental changes to culture could happen from immigration. Muslim majority in Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan. That's crazy. Let me look that up. That's wild. Dearborn, Michigan. Yes. Wow. making it the first Arab majority city in the U.S. according to 2023 census data. About 55% of the city's residents claim Middle Eastern or North African ancestry, the majority of whom are Arab and Muslim. The community is one of the largest in the country, with Dearborn home to the largest mosque in North America. And then we saw the call to prayers broadcast on speakers in Minneapolis. And then he feels like the countries are just going out of their way to please immigrants, please Muslims, please them. So I think from this, you can just kind of ascertain that just people are upset, people are angry, people are scared, people are frustrated, and people are fed up. And for these reasons, so you kind of see the reasons that they are, and so I was just wanting to understand like where people are coming from, because nowadays you do see so much hate on Islam, you do see so much hate against Muslims, and so I wanted to understand where it was coming from. You kind of see so much hate against immigrants, and so I just want to listen to this video with an understanding where everybody's coming from. Of course, I want to listen to a video of this was, I guess, a right point of view. I want to listen to a left point of view, see where everybody's coming from as well. It has diversity. That diversity has never been a strength of the UK. So yeah, enrich food, music, and arts, and he kind of talked about that with the restaurants. But yeah, people largely agreeing that diversity has enriched food, music, and arts. It brings different perspectives and skills. Okay. And it says the country's cultural richness seen in its cities and everyday life is a direct result of contributions from various ethnic and cultural groups, a trend that has been growing since post-World War II migration. So when you look at the culture, you look at diversity is profoundly impacted and enriched British culture with significant contributions to food, music, and arts. Cities like London are often cited as prime examples of how diversity creates a vibrant and dynamic urban environment, fostering a modern and forward-looking identity. And now diversity is normal, every day, a part of British life, in both large cities and small towns. Now let's look at how she has been caught. Potential cons of the diversity in the UK include challenges like culture and communication barriers, potential for increased social tension or discrimination, and economic issues such as unequal pay and resentment during economic downturns. So you got differences in language, values, and customs can lead to conflicts and reduced efficiency, requiring investment in cultural sensitivity training. Ethnic minorities and other diverse groups can face significant discrimination in areas like employment, leading to feelings of unsafety and being insulted. And then disagreements can arise between different groups, sometimes exacerbated by factors like competition for resources during economic downturns. So you see, diversity can have pros and cons, and what they're saying here is that there's more cons than pros. It's hurting the country more than helping the country, and they see it changing, and that's their viewpoint, that's their stance. I just want to come from a place of trying to understand, and so I read it down in this video. Again, like I said, we'll react to a video that sees diversity as more of a strength soon, and so you'll get to kind of see that viewpoint too. I just want people honestly to just come to an understanding, like try to understand each other, both sides to try to understand each other, because both the left and the right in a lot of these countries just are more filled with insults and hate towards the other side than love and understanding. So I just want to try to come from a point of understanding each side, each point of view, and see if there can't be room for unity, see if there can't be room for coming together and figuring out a solution for everybody. But that's all we have. I hope y'all enjoy.